In this video, we're going to take a look at ListingPro 2.6. This is the directory theme that's available in WordPress. We're going to take it from the installation right through the full build and taking a look at some of the tricky bits that you might get stuck on if you're using this directory for the first time. We've broken down the video into sections, so it should be hopefully easy to follow. And if you like the video, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. At the time of posting this, we had 2 subscribers. Let's see if we can get it to 3. Okay, so today we're going to take a look at ListingPro. It's a directory theme available in WordPress. It's currently the #1 directory solution that's available, and you can get it for $69 and you get the whole pack. You don't need anything else, and I wouldn't recommend taking the extended support if you haven't sort of mastered ListingPro within 6 months. The extra 6 months is probably not going to help you. So just quickly, we'll also take a bit of a look at how you can use it, the kind of industries it works for. So this is just looking at the features within ListingPro. You can do the restaurants, medical, travel and tourism, automotive, education, fitness, real estate. The list actually goes on. It's extremely flexible, and when you do purchase it, you don't need any extra plugins. You get the 6-month support, and the support from ListingPro is actually quite good themselves should you need it. And if we look at just a couple of the key metrics here, it is the #1 bestseller. There's over 2,000 5-star reviews. There's a massive knowledge base, over 20,000 installs, and personally I've found it reasonably easy to use. There are a few quirks with it, but one of the reasons I'm doing this video is to maybe help save you some time trying to solve the problems that I've ran into in the past. And like a lot of things, once you know how to do it, it's really easy, but trying to hunt down a solution for something weird that's going on can be awfully frustrating and time consuming. Okay, so in this next section, we're going to take a look at the install and setup of the ListingPro theme. What I've done, I've created an account called Demo Build. I've named it Auburn Thrive Demo, and I've also upgraded to a business monthly account, and that allows me to install themes and plugins, which is what we need if we're going to do ListingPro. So now I've just gone down here to Appearance, to Themes, and we're going to install the ListingPro theme. So let's find the theme, browse. Now what you want to do is find the listingpro.zip file, press OK, and let's install that. Rightio, now we're going to activate the theme. And here we go. We've got ListingPro version 2.6. Okay, so once we've installed our theme, we want to head down and go to the setup wizard over here. So we're just going to click this one here, and this is going to take us through the setup for the basic directory of our choosing. So here, this is rather new, the old WP Bakery, but we're going to go with Elementor. Next, yep, let's do all of these. Don't get too concerned about these ones. Okay, now this is where you get to choose what kind of directory you're looking to use. So for the demo build we're going to do today, we're just going to go with the classic build. I think it's quite versatile, and it should serve good purpose for what we're after here. And the dummy content, now this is really useful. It brings in maybe 8 to 10 listings, and it allows you to see where the text goes, where the headings are, and how and the whole layout. So I'd recommend you do the import of the content. Okay, this is where we've got to put in our license key. When you downloaded the zip back from Theme Forest, in that email it will come with a license key. So I'm going to chuck my license key here in just now. I'll probably hide it later because you probably shouldn't share your license key. And the instance mode, I'm going to set this to a test site. Congratulations, your site is now active. So if I jump over to this tab here, let's see what happens. Okay, so from a completely blank WordPress site, we've downloaded the directory theme and we've uploaded it, activated it, and gone through the setup wizard process, and we've imported some dummy content. So now we have the basic theme set up. And if you scroll down here, one of the things you do note compared to looking at the test sites is there's actually nothing here. Now when it says when you download it, it shows a bunch of cities. There's nothing there. And when you go down further, you will see, you'll note that these are saying ads. So this is showing that some of the advertising monetization methods have been set up in the dummy instance. And these are, ListingPro, dummy ads, etc. This is more the blog post area, and then we've got the footer. So we're going to come back to this piece by piece and customize these elements to suit our requirements. And as you can see here, we're based in Melbourne. It's picking up via the location that this is where we are, and we can change that as well. It can either be based on coordinates, or you can actually enter it in if you actually want to explore a certain city, a suburb, or whatever the case may be. So we can customize all of this. So just quickly, we're going to go down and have a look at our settings here, and we'll just go to General. And as you can see here, this is where you can set your site title. I've called it Auburn Thrive Demo, and you can see here the title's coming up here. I've given it a tagline. We're in the Sydney time zone. It's probably not a lot more you need to do in the settings. We'll jump back down over to here, and we'll go to the permalinks. And I think for the permalinks, we might go with the post name. You can sort of pick whatever works for you, but typically with most of the sites we do use the post name. It's just like a nice clean look. So we'll hit save on there. So if you're kicking off a new design of a website or a directory or a store, you want to get yourself a color palette so you can populate a consistent set of colors that go together and work well, and you don't have to worry about trying to find the right codes or matching it as you continually work through your project. So what we recommend is jumping onto coolers.co, and you can just have a look at a whole bunch of different palettes that go together until you find the right one, and then just save it and you've got it. So quickly, I'll just run through it here. So we're on coolers.co, and you just hit the generate button. And if you just want to use the auto palette generation, you just hit the space bar, and bang, it's easy as that. When you do find a palette that you do like, you can just hit save, and it will be there, and you can name it, and away you go. And that's it. Enjoy. Righto, let's move into theme options. So we're here on just the My Home section. If we go down the left-hand side quite a way, we will see theme options, and just hit on that. Now, there is quite a bit in this section, but we will just cruise on through it and see where we get to. So in the general section, it's really about your color selection and setting your theme. So for instance, we can just go in here and set a new theme for a primary color. Now, what I like to do is use Coolers to create a theme for my website designs and builds. And for here, I came through and picked out a few earlier, but we're going to go with this one here that I call Auburn Thrive 4. So maybe for our primary color, we'll go with this one. So we'll just copy it there. If you can hear birds in the background, that's because there's birds in the background and they're really annoying. But anyway, there's not much I can do about it. So there we go. We've just changed the primary color. We'll jump across here and we'll set the secondary color. So again, we'll go to coolers, and it's really good because you just click it and copy it and go back to here and then chuck it in here. Now if I go save, we should see these colors now appearing over here with a bit of luck, depending on where they were. So now, yeah, you can see this button has changed, and when you hover on it, so we're getting our two colors come through. Sometimes there's a bit of hit and miss to see where these colors are coming up, but if you pick your color palette that you're after and decide what you want to be a primary and secondary, you'll find that it all sort of makes sense when you work through it. Okay, so we've got our primary and secondary colors done. We're not going to worry about our user sign up form password field for now. We'll go with the default. Instant username field, we'll go with the default. We'll have the page title header on. We're in Australia here, so we'll go with $ symbol for currency. We might come back to this, the custom styling, but for now we will just cruise on over it. Auto location detect for banner. So this is where just before we see Melbourne coming in. So this is what is driving that. If I turn it off and save changes and I reload this, it just goes back to explore your city. So for now we might leave that on so that Melbourne comes up, which is quite appropriate. Alright, get that back to Melbourne. Good. Okay, so auto location detected. There's varying degrees of settings here. The one that we're going to go with is the geo one, just for the it's auto detection, but it's less accurate, and no pop-up is displayed. So we'll just go with that one for now. We can always come back and change that later. So that's got us through our general section. We'll go now to the user dashboard. For most of these, we probably will stick to the defaults. Listings, so enable to show author listings within the dashboard. You will go with the default, invoices, default, packages, default for now, default. Appointments, we might actually just turn that off because we're not going to do appointments. Menus, we're not going to do menus in this build, so we will turn it off. Announcements we will leave on, we'll come back to that. Events we'll leave on, we'll come back to that. Discounts and offers, that can be on. My profile, yeah, we'll have that. Log out button, we'll have that. Notice to listing, yeah, all these are pretty good. So that was nice and easy. We just cruised through that one. Typography, fairly self-explanatory. This is where if you have your certain styling you want to go for, you can set your fonts and your weights and that type of thing in here. So we can just probably cruise that. I usually stick to the defaults. They do look pretty good. What else have we got in this one? It's all about the styling. So not a lot more to really change on that for now. Sometimes we come back to it later if something doesn't quite look right or we want to improve something. So the header, this is something we might want to change. So at the moment, you can see we've got this kind of header. It's a transparent header, but just to show you what this does, we could say select this one here. If we go to save changes, we come back to here and do a refresh. You can see now it's put it into a banner across the top. My preference, I actually quite like the transparent default, so we're just going to go back to that. But you know, this one here, you can just work through and pick whatever works for you. It is fairly flexible. There's lots of options there. So disable the top bar. We're going to leave that on, which is the default, and the background color we're going to leave as the default. The top bar color, we are going to go back to coolers here, and let's go for this one. Why not? Okay, let's chuck that in there. I'm going to save. We'll leave that one as a default fix. We'll leave that. We'll leave that. We'll leave that one. Header background color, we will change that. Let's go for green or a shade of. And remember to press save. This is where you can set your social media icons. Default header layout, we're going to go with the default search. We'll leave that for now, but we will come back to that one. The logo, we're going to pick our own logo, so we might actually do that now. So at the moment you can see we've got this logo here, ListingPro. So we'll just change that out here, homepage logo, upload. We'll go to the media library, and we might go with this one here, because we're going to call this Orb and Thrive. Let's see what happens here. Boom. Okay, we've got Orb and Thrive, so that's coming through nicely. And we'll cruise down a bit further. Logo for the inner pages. We'll do that again. So this is the other pages in the directory that we haven't got into yet, but we'll select the same one. I think because depending on what data we've got in there, we might be able to have a look at that just now, or it might be a bit later. The favicon, we're not going to worry about that one for now, but you know, you just load up your favorite icon. It's usually like 40 by 40 pixels, something like that, and load that in there. So just here, the final option we've got to select is the login pop-up style. So we're just going to go with the base one, which is an email and a password. If you want, you can select the OAuth like the Google and Facebook and Twitter login, but we'll just go with the default here. Press save. Okay, so the next section we're going to look at is the banner. You can see this is the default one that's been selected, and there's a heap of categories that are showing here in the preview, but when we look over here, let's just refresh this. You're not seeing them. They will appear here, so we have to pick what categories we want to appear there before they will show. So you could go with a layout that looks, say, like this one. We'll just take a quick look at that, and here you go. You've got a slightly different layout, but you know, just pick whichever one works for you. We're going to go back to the default because I quite like the categories and how they work. So if we go down to the next section here, it's got your search style. So the default is this one, but yeah, you can go to more of a transparent or a block kind of style. So for now, we're going to stick with the default. For these, we will just stick to the default, just for the design and look we're going for. But equally, the other ones are quite good as well. The background color for the category. Again, we'll jump back over to our colors. I'm going to go with this color here, and we'll chuck that in there. Okay, and background hover. Let's go with, say, this one here. And the text color will stick with white for now, just to see how that looks. We'll press save on that. For the rest of this stuff, we're pretty much going to stick to the defaults, except we will change the banner image. So this is the image that's currently showing. I think we just changed back to the other banner type. We will change the image, go to our media library. We're going to pick this image here. Press save changes, and again upload, and bang, we should have our new image. Okay, so courtesy listing. We want to have this off, otherwise it's going to give a credit to whoever took the photo, and I took the photo and I don't need any credit, so let's just turn that off. Banner taxonomy, well, we're going to stick with categories. Now in here it's going to tell me what I can choose from. So for the moment I am going to pick hotels, I'm going to pick real estate, I'm going to pick a restaurant, and what else? I might just go services. Now if I press save here, what you're going to see is those category titles now appearing on our banner. So here we go. These are the categories I've just picked, and now they're appearing, and there are colors we chose as well. So the on hover and the default. You will see these icons here. They're not really matching, but we can easily fix that a little bit later. Okay, so selecting listing categories, select listing categories. So this is for the drop down. So you'll notice here at the moment there is a bunch of categories, and over here we can select what they are going to be. So again, I'm just going to go with the same one: hotels, real estate, restaurant, and services. Hit save, jump over here, update. Okay, now we've got these, they equal them, and that's all looking pretty nice. Now the where, this relates to the Google Maps or the Open Maps setup, so we're just going to ignore that just for the minute and go back over here. Okay, so just before we finish out this section, I just wanted to fix the mismatch in the color. So we've got a couple of blue icons here and a white one. You know, you might want or white or blue or whatever color you want, it doesn't really matter. And up here we had the drop down. Now I have just quickly jumped in and made a couple of these changes, but I just wanted to leave one here to show you guys how to fix it. So if we jump back over to WordPress and we cruise on down here to listings, we go to categories. These elements are categories, so we go into categories here. Sorry, just jump back. So it's hotels white, we want hotel to be blue. So you can see here's the hotel and it's white. So we go to edit, and what we want is it for it to be blue. So what you do is you go over here to icons8.com, and I'll just go back to the home page here so you can see it from the start. We can search all sorts of icons, so we click on icons, these ones here, and then I might type in hotel, and we start getting some hotels. Now this does sort of look like the one we're after to match it. Jump back here, but we want a blue one, so just click on blue, and there we go. So what you need to do in here is when you click on it, you want to go to embed, and then you hit base 64, and then just click anywhere in here and it will copy it. And then you just go back over to here. And there's only one real trick to doing this. When you paste it, you just need to get rid of those closeout brackets and things, and then you go back to the home and you get rid of everything up to the quotes. So basically you're just leaving whatever's in the quotes, and the same here. So just go to the end, delete, paste, up to the quotes, home, and back here. Now if we just do a quick update, and if I go back to categories here, you'll see that both of these are now blue. So you can have different color on the icon to the banner, but I've gone the same just to keep things simple here for the demonstration. So if I refresh this now, we should have a blue hotel, and bang, there we go. So now we've got this looking nice. We've got the icons all in blue on a white background, and we've got blue icons for our categories here. And that wraps up this little section. So we're looking to update the home page here, so let's go across to home, edit with Elementor. Righto, so now we can start editing the home page. Now I'm not going to do massive changes in here, but we are going to jig things around just a little bit. So happening cities, now in the demo, when you look on the ListingPro site, you do see a bunch of cities here, so we want to get that back in here. So just go up here on the left to the widgets, and we're just going to type in location, and we can see this location element here, and we just go down here where you're getting a blue sign and let that go in. Now you can see all this is loaded here, so it's not that neat, so we just might want to have one big one and this one, and keep these two here. So if we just go up here, we can select, say, California, Chicago, Georgia, New York, 4. So that looks pretty neat. So that's looking pretty good, and you can see here there's a couple of listings for California, 3 listings in Chicago, 0 for Georgia, and 2 for New York. They need to have cover images set to fix that, but we can do that later. So this section here will be looking all right. Now if we go down a little bit further, if we click on this little pencil icon here, and you get the different styles, so listing layout, grid, and style. So you can easily just sort of have a bit of a play around with that and just go with something you like. So we might change this to a list view style 2. In fact, I don't really like that. Let's just go back to style 1. It's a bit neat. The next thing we're going to do here is how you can add a new element to your home page. So if we go back to here, back one, and one of the common ones might be partners or listing partners that show on your site. So if we go into here and we type in partners, you get ListingPro partners element, and just chuck it onto here, and we might just change this color. We might go back to our callers, we might select this color again just because it stands out for the purpose of what we're doing here, and we'll press update. If we go back to here and do a refresh, we should see a couple of things. We made the changes to the top section, so now you're seeing the locations element showing here, and further down we've got these changes being reflected, and we've got our partners bar. Now this is where you just bring in some icons or logos, and you can bring them in. So if I add an item here, partner logo, so select an image, and we might go with that. It might stand out a bit better. There we go. So that's how you can bring an element into there, and just to neaten it up, we'll get rid of that one and it'll center. If it's not going full width for you, just come over here to the layout and hit the full width, and don't forget to hit update. And bang, there we go. So that's all looking pretty good. We've got our partners banner there, and we've changed our exclusive listings, and we've got our happening cities back. Okay, so to finish off our homepage, we want to adjust the footer, and it will impact every page. But to do that, we just go down to theme options and select footer. And you can see there's a number of templates to choose from. We're just going to stay with the default for now, and we will change the color. So if we go back over to our color palette, we'll go with this color here so that it doesn't clash with the text. Go that one, and we'll update this one, and we'll press save. Now we should see that change come through here. Yeah, we can see our default primary colors here now. If I go back over to the footer, you can see you can add your social media icons to it. Now, there's a bit of a trick here. If you don't have every social media icon, let's say you don't have Facebook. If I delete the hash and press save changes, if you go over here, the Facebook's there. If we do an update now, Facebook is gone. So we could do the same, get rid of, say, Tumblr, we'll get rid of LinkedIn, and we'll get rid of Pinterest, and we'll get rid of whatever that is, because I've never heard of it. And we'll update again, and there, so you might have Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. So that's looking good. Now go down, so we're going to change this to put our own in, so 2021 Nexus. Our address, well, for now let's stay in New York. Default phone number is okay, and we might change this to our website, for instance. And here we will put Nexus. Save changes. Okay, so refresh. You can see this is coming through now. So ListingPro by Nexus. In fact, we can get rid of the ListingPro, and we'll just see. Update this text here, and we might say directory, if I could spell, directory by Nexus. Okay, so save changes, directory by Nexus with a hyperlink. So that's how you can update your footer, and that will impact every page. So one of the things you might want to do as part of your directory setup is, rather than manually import listings, whether it be coffee shops, restaurants, business services, whatever the case may be, you might want to use one of the available tools to scrape data. And one that I like using is web automation. You can see here we're on the Yelp scraper, but let's take a look at one of the other ones here. This is the Google Maps scraper, and it's really easy to use. Web automation, they give a 14-day free trial with a whole bunch of credits, so you can quickly set up an account, and you just select the Google Maps extractor, which is the page we're on here, and then when you go to use it for free, it kicks you over to a screen that looks just like this one here. And in order to actually scrape the data, what you need to do is go into Google Maps and do a search. So I've done a search here that's, say, on, you can see here it's coffee shops in Auburn Village in Hawthorne, which is a small suburb in Melbourne, and when you put that search in, it's going to list out everything that meets that requirement in this area. So, and you paste it over here. So we're going to activate this. And the starter link, this is what the URL we just copied. We're going to paste that in here. I'm going to press update, and it's going to check it's okay, all good. Now we're going to run it. So as you can see, this is ticking away. It consumes credits actually as it extracts listings. When it's finished, you're going to see a download available here. It'll say that it's the status will go to complete, and it'll tell you how many listings it's downloaded, and you'll be able to download an Excel file here. So once your data scrape's complete, you're going to grab your Excel file, and it's going to look something like this. And what we're interested in making available for ListingPro is the title, the address, the website, the phone number. It'll grab also the images, the URLs for the images, and your lat and long. So this is the information that web automation can provide. I use the Google Map scrape, and we're going to import that in to ListingPro. So the next thing we want to do is import some listings, and to do that we need a couple of plugins. So we just go down here on the left hand side until we get to plugins, add a new plugin, and what we can search for is WP All Import. And this is the plugin we need here, so we're going to install this one. And activate it. Okay, the other plugin you're going to need once you've set up that one is WP All Import ListingPro add-on. Now this plugin was included with the zip file from ThemeForest. So if you go into that folder, you will find the zip file WP All Import and just add that plugin. Now, once we have both the import, WP All Import, and the WP Import add-on, you just go down here to All Import. We will do a new import. We are going to upload a file, and that file I'm going to find somewhere here. And here it is. Okay, so when we get to this step, what we need to do is actually pick listings and then head to step 2. And you can see it's brought in 126 records. So this gives you just a quick option to have a little bit of a look and see that the right kind of data has come in and you've got the right file, etc. So now you can go to step 3. And this is where literally you drag and drop the elements to import. So for the title, we can just grab it over here and drop it there. Whoops, got the title, and there is no description in our import set. Now these are the ListingPro add-ons. So if we have a look here, we don't have a tagline, but we do have an address. So we'll grab the Google address, and latitude and longitude we do have. So if I scroll down over here, we've got this lat, I called it. So we'll go to latitude and we go to longitude, And what else have we got? Photos. So these are all the photos of the businesses that have been scraped. Photos around here somewhere. Website, we can chuck that one in. Website. Phone number. Phone number. Gallery images. So we can grab our photos and we can enter that in there. And just checking if we need to change any of these. That looks okay. And for now, I think that's pretty good. All right, so now we've done that, we can just go to step 4. And we'll do auto detect. It's just so you get a unique identifier. And just checking the settings here, create new listings from records. That's okay, we can leave that one. Update listings with changed data in your file. Yep, let's do that. All right, we want to do this right now, so let's hit it. Now, if you do have a very large file, this can take some time, but this is just a small sample of data that we're going to bring in, so it shouldn't take too long at all. Okay, so you can see now that 126 of 126 records have been successfully imported. And if we want to check that out, we just go across to our directory and we can just do a quick refresh. And I know there's a bunch of cafes that we imported, so I'm just going to hit cafe. And here is a whole bunch of local cafes. Now that's all from that data scrape. And we've did the data scrape, adjusted the Excel file, made it a CSV, and then imported it, and it doesn't take very long at all. So we've got 130 odd listings now in the directory, and you can see over here on the right, every time you move onto a different listing, it highlights where it is. Now this map is actually the open maps, which we're going to change this to be a Google map a little bit later on, so it'll look a little bit different. If you like open maps, you can keep it, otherwise you can change that. When it comes time to setting up your Google Maps for ListingPro, you're going to be directed to come across to the Google Maps platform. The address, you can see it up there in the URL, cloud.google.com/maps platform. When you get here, hit the get started. Now what this is going to do is going to take you through the billing information and set up a basic project. The billing information is required because if you do exceed a certain number of API requests, there is a charge. However, you do get $300 US a month, and that is more than enough for any of the projects that I've ever done. So once you've got that billing information and project information, it's going to take you to a screen that looks something like this. And when you get here, it all might look a little bit confusing, but what you want to do is head across to the API services here. And when you get here, mine's already set up as you can see, but what you're going to need to do is head over to credentials, and then you want to go to create credentials, and that's going to be an API key. So when you hit that, it's going to ask you to create an API key, which is pretty straightforward. Now when that key is created, it's going to show you it here. Mine might be a bit blurred out, but there's the name of it, and we've got the key over here. Next thing you want to do is go back to the dashboard. And when you're on the dashboard, you want to hit the enable APIs and services. And that is going to bring up just a whole screen full of stuff. here that most of which you don't need for ListingPro. What you do need for ListingPro is these two APIs here. You want to enable the Maps JavaScript API and the Places API. And so just quickly, if you go to Enable API, if you click on, say, Places, I'll go to Roads actually because it's not enabled. If you click on Roads, you simply hit the Enable, and then that API is enabled with your API key. Now, once you've done all of that, the important thing in all of this is to get your API key. So when your API credentials set up and you've got those two APIs I mentioned enabled, you come back here and copy this API key, and we're going to plug that back into ListingPro a little bit later on. Okay, so now we're going to move on to take a look at maps. One of the first things we're going to do is set the default latitude, longitude if no result is found in our listings search. So to do that, just head down to Theme Options and then go to Listing. And just here against default map, location, latitude and longitude, the default is a 0 here. So all you need to do is go to Google Maps, and if your directory is around a general area or a state, you just grab those latitude, longitude numbers and put them in here. And what that means is when you do a search, for instance, if we just refresh this, if I type in somewhere that doesn't exist, and this is not quite set up, but it will show the point. So if I search for Melbourne, nothing in general will come up, but the default map will come up, at least in your part of the world where your directory is. So that's just probably one of the first steps to do in relation to the maps. Now the second one is to actually go down and take a look at the maps under Theme Options. Now the default map is this OpenStreetMap, and if you want to see what that looks like, again, if we type in cafe here, which we know we do have a couple of cafes, and if let's have a look at the food store cafe, you can see here that this is working correctly. The map's coming up, it's dropping the pin, it's all good. So that's one location it works. If I go back to the search listings, also you can see the Open Maps is all configured, it's all working, and it's totally free. However, you may want to use Google Maps. So if we want to set up the Google Maps, there's a couple of steps involved. So hopefully you've just seen a bit of a pro tip on how to create your API key using the Google Cloud platform. And now that you have your API key, you can enter it in. So what you want to do now is go and grab your API key that you've generated from Google Cloud Platform and just override the default one that's been given here by ListingPro, and we just copy that in there. And then you need to update this to Google Map, hit save. If we go back over to the directory and do a refresh, and again we'll type cafe. Oops, something went wrong. We have entered an API key correctly, and what the issue is, when you create your API key, you may be asked to restrict how it's accessed, and there was a restriction that I entered on the API key that I set up here to only work on another domain. So I've just added that domain. You can find that in the credentials area of the API key and you scroll down to the bottom and it'll say restrict the key, and it's probably a good idea if you're doing that to restrict it to your domain. If you want to use it on multiple websites, directories, that's okay, you just add those domains in. So I've just made that change now, and we go back and see if it's going to work for us. So we'll put in cafe again. Previously we're getting it would flash up instantly and then disappear, but now as you can see it is working and it's looking pretty good. So when we hover on these places, they're highlighting. So if we go back to the food store, previously it was with Open Maps, now it's with Google Maps, and that's rendering through. Now one thing you might notice here is there's no pin. When I first started using ListingPro and I encountered this issue, it caused me a lot of problems, and I found it very difficult to resolve because at first I hadn't really used the Google Cloud platform, so I wasn't entirely sure whether I'd set that up correctly, and a bit of trial and error. I was sort of fairly confident that I had. However, no matter what I did, I could not get a pin to show, and when I sort of looked at how other maps were working, everyone had a pin. And it's just one of those things that when you eventually work it out, it's really easy to fix. So if you've got this issue, what you need to do is go over to your theme options, and we go to listings. And the reason it doesn't really stand out because there's so many configuration items here. What you want to look for, you're sort of looking for something blank, I guess, when you're trying to solve it. But this says map pin image, and it actually has the asset defined in here. However, it's actually not there. So whether the updated package or whatever it is the issue, but this is the problem. So if we go to upload our own pin, you can go and use Canva, create a pin, just make one. But if we go to upload, media here. Okay, so we're going to choose this pin that I created in Canva. Save changes. And if we go back over to here and do a refresh, bang, there's our pin. Now that was really easy, except when I was first starting out, that took me about 2 days to work out why that pin would not appear, and it was driving me crazy. But anyway, there you go. Okay, so there's a couple more things that relate to maps that we need to just quickly take a look at. And the first one here is if we go to theme options and search, and we just scroll down here, you'll see this configuration item here, select location search type, so auto location by Google. So now that we've got our Google Maps API in, configured and working, we can see how this works. So if we go back over to our site, you will see, I'll just do a quick refresh to make sure it's all good. Now if I type in Melbourne, for instance, there we go, you've got Melbourne, Vic, Australia. It's automatically picking that up as we type. However, if we go back over here and select the other option, which is locations by admin only, and press save changes, do a refresh, we can restrict that list to locations that are assigned to our listing directory listings. So the locations in our against our listings so far have locations including California, Chicago, New York, etc. So you can choose whichever one works best for you. For the directory I'm building here, I'm going to go with the locations by the admin only, because if you're doing a directory for a small town, you really don't need everywhere in the world or a country appearing when you start the type. You just want maybe just a couple of little areas around that town. So we're going to leave it as the settings by admin. While we're still on maps, we probably should just take a quick look at under theme options. If you go to listings and then down to location, you'll get this form here, and you have the option of setting whether when someone adds a listing whether they can add it by just simply typing in, say, the name of the business, and then Google will auto-complete it, or they actually have to type it in. So here at the moment, it's set to auto locations by Google. That's fine, but it may not restrict people from anywhere in the world, or your country at least, entering a listing on your directory, which you may not want. So the other way of doing this is add locations by admin only. And what that means is, if I save that, when I go across to listings, enter locations, this is the locations that we're going to accept listings from. So if someone enters a business in, they'll start putting their name and address in, but when it comes to their a location, it has to be one of these locations. And these are the locations that we saw before in the drop down. In fact, if we add another one, say Sydney, we'll call it Sydney. Let's add that new. So we've got Sydney coming up here. Now, if we go across to our directory and we left this to where this field here by admin only, you can see Sydney's appeared now. So that's how you control the locations in your directory if you want to do it by the admin. Otherwise, you can leave it configured with Google, but it just depends how you want to control the directory and how you want those locations managed. So this sort of wraps up the section on maps. There's probably a lot more to maps, and if there is anything that I've missed and you would like to get some advice, just leave a comment down below. If you do like the video, chuck a like and maybe subscribe. Okay, so the next section we're going to take a look at here is the pricing plans. So if you just go down the left here, we hit pricing plans. We come into here. You can see there's the three options that come out of the box with the demo data. And to see where this appears, if you go over here to add listing, now this is going to go straight to select a listing, but that's because I'm logged in here. If I wasn't logged in, it would actually ask me to create an account. But for now, let's just skip that step. And you can see here, if you add a listing, now this is used for monetization. If someone wants to have a presence on your directory, they might come here and take a free listing, or they might choose a paid one, depending on what you've offered and how attractive that might be. So we can customize all of this. So heading back over here, we will just go into the free one for now, and you can see there's a whole bunch of options of what you can show and what you can offer for your various directory types. So what we're going to do here is, because we're in the free one, we're going to turn off a lot of these things. So we're going to turn off appointments, and we won't show it. We'll turn off FAQ, we won't show it. Price tags, we'll leave business hours. Go down here, we'll turn off time booking, menu, announcement, because we're on the free. It's really not going to offer too much. Deals and discounts, this. So we're going to turn off all of these items. Now, what's going to happen now? We're going to update this. Jump back to here. And you can see that this is much shorter list. Now, there's a couple of things you can do, depending on how you want to display this. You can show the items that are not available. So say these three here, FAQ, price range, and tag keywords. If I go back to show, but they're not available on that plan, and go update, they should have a little red X against them. So you could do it this way, so that your free will show what you get and what you don't get, and then as you move across, say from basic to premium, you get more blue ticks and less red, depending on how you want to display your listings. So I think you get the picture. You can enable them and show them, or enable them and don't show them, or don't enable them and show them. The choice is really up to you. Package type pay per listing, we're going to do that for what we've got here. This is free, so it's going to be 0. Now, the color for the background title box, we're going to head back over to our color palette here, and we'll grab, let's say, yeah, let's go with this color. Okay, now this is one of the good things when you are using this, because this is looking for RGB in this case. So on our color palette, it'll actually tell us what that is as well. So we can go for RGB, and it's 224.122.95. So 224.122 and 95. So add custom color. Okay. All this stuff I think we'll leave as default. So we'll do it 365 days. So if they sign up to the free plan, they've got the whole year. And you could make this a hot plan. I'll show you what that means when we actually do the next listing, because the free one is not really what I'd consider the hot plan. Alright, so we'll update that, and let's take a quick look at it. And you can see that these changes we've made have come through, and it's looking a bit more stylish. So we're just going to quickly take off the red X's there. So that'll be that one, and that one, I think. Just take a quick look. Okay, so that's looking a little bit better. So now we'll go and adjust the basic one. We won't do all of them because I'm sure you're going to get the picture by the time we do one or two of these. If we go back to pricing plans, now if we go into edit, we can change this one to be, include a lot more features. So we might leave, just for the purpose of the demo, we're just going to turn off everything below this point here. And we will update that. And to get them sort of even, what you can do is, you can see here we've sort of got 4 more showing to keep the sort of the balance on the look and feel of what we're trying to do here. So you've got a couple of options, and what I would probably suggest is, you probably don't need to show keywords. Maybe you don't need to show that, and you don't need to show the appointments if it's a. And let's just take location off, just to neaten this one up. So they'll still be available in the plan, and the way we can get around that is we can put a little bit of code just in here. So we can say that include everything from the free plan plus the items listed in the basic. We'll just fix up this color here as well, and we'll go with the same. Okay, so we can sort of see how we can adjust what we can make available in free, what we can show, what we can hide, and we've got 3 different packages here: the free, the basic, the premium. So I've made just a couple of tweaks, and so this is what we've got it looking like at the moment. And what the plan is, we're going to add a little bit of code in here that will then add a line here that just says, include everything from free and the basic, and from premium you get everything in free and basic, and it'll be in the premium. So let's go ahead and chuck that in here. So if we go back to the basic one, and this is where you can put in your bit of code. And if you just paste this then little line here, I'll leave it in the description as well, and you can see this is the color code that we've grabbed from our color palette over here, this one here. So if I update that, now this one, now we're in the basic here, so if we go back to price plans and I go to premium, we can do the same here. We just paste that in here, everything from basic, free, and basic. Update. Okay, so if we do a refresh here, so we're probably going to tweak that a little bit just to get that back in. And one quirk with this is you do have to paste the code back in every time. So good thing is it's actually showing here, you can actually select it, everything from other plan. See if that fits. Perfect. A couple of other options you've got over here. You can say which plan we're on here. We're on the premium plan. We could go into duration. We could go 30 days, every 30 days. And we will charge, where's our fee? Price. So I might go for yeah, $49 every 30 days. So we'll update that. So you can see we updated the pricing per 30 days for this premium listing to be $49, and it's come through at $51.45. And that is because we haven't changed the default tax rate, which is 5%. So because we are here in Australia, we're just going to change this to be GST at 10%, which is the going rate. And to do that, you just come across here to theme options and to payment, and we're just going to update this to GST, and we will update this to 10% and hit save. And we will go back to here and update it, and we should get this number coming through with an includes GST amount. So that is how you can set your pricing, including tax, excluding tax. You may want to put a note on the listing, which you can do. And that pretty much shows how you can set up your pricing plans, how you can add a bit of custom styling here, and your tax setting and how it impacts your listings and the payments you collect. So here, we're just going to look at how you can add a listing manually. We've already done a bulk import, and that is the easiest way to do it, but you may have to add a couple of listings in, or you might want to just do them manually. So to do that, you just head over to listings, and then up the top here, hit add new. And for the purpose of this example, we're just going to quickly add a restaurant, and that restaurant is called St. Cloud Eating House. So I've just looked it up on Google Maps, and so we're just going to grab the name from here and paste it. If you wanted to put in a description about the venue, basically you just copy it from the venue itself and paste it in there. Is probably the easiest way. And if it had a tagline, you can add that there. We're going to do this one pretty quickly just so we can sort of get the point, the key bits. So the reason we looked it up on Google Maps is so we can get the coordinates, so the pin drops in the right location. And you'll see that there is two lots of coordinates. There's this one here, and there's another set of coordinates over here, and they are slightly different. So I'm just going to copy the coordinates that we want, and then I'm going to paste them over here. And there we go. And I'll cut that back out, paste these ones in here, and then get rid of up till there. The Google address for the restaurant, it's nice and easy because there's just a quick copy button in the maps. We can paste that in, and that will update. The phone number, nice and easy. Again, there's a quick copy there. So put the phone number in. The website, again, easy to get. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff. Now for the images, typically you can download them off the venue's website or the business's website. I'm not going to do that just now. And just cruising on down through this. The business hours, if you know them, you can update these here and put their logo in. If you're trying to get more businesses onto your listing, the more information you put in here and set up to make it look amazing, that works heaps better. Yeah, so that's the bulk of it here. The other stuff you want to look at over here is on the side. The other couple of things we want to set up are the location. So this restaurant happens to be, well, I haven't got the, actually we can add a new location. So we'll put in Hawthorne. And we won't worry about a parent location for now. Add new location. And there we go, we've got it in Hawthorne. Categories, it is a restaurant, so we'll set that as well. And a feature image, you can do that. We're not going to do that for now. So that is good to go. We're going to hit publish, and that listing will now appear. Now, another area you might want to take a look at is the features available for categories. So if you go to listings and then come down to categories, let's say we select the restaurant category. If you scroll down the bottom, you'll see that currently there's no features available to add to a restaurant category, and this will make a bit more sense in a minute. So just as by way of example, we'll say this restaurants accept credit cards, and let's say it's 1980 and smoking is allowed. Just before I press update, we'll just go over here, and you'll see that if we refresh this on the Food Store Cafe, it's all looking pretty plain because we haven't really filled out a description, tagline, and opening hours, that type of thing yet. So let's just update this. So we've added credit cards and smoking is allowed. Now if we go back to our listing, and the one we're looking at is the Food Store Cafe. So if I go to edit it, there is now two options. If you scroll down to the bottom, we've added rest because it's in the restaurants category. You can see that here, categories restaurant, and we've added two of these features are available for the restaurants category. You can say accepts credit card and smoking is allowed. Hit update, and then we do a refresh here. You'll see that these features now appear. So now they are currently in this particular location. However, on the listings you can change where you want these features to appear as well. So to do that, we get out of here and we go down to theme options, and we go to listings, listing detail. So the listing features were, I think from here you can see that it's above the review because there's no other detail in here. There. There we go. Now it's swapped locations. So you can see over here in the listing detail, you can change the order of where things appear, and you can disable them, enable them, and there's the sidebar, what's appearing in the site. Currently you've got all these things, but for example, currently the map's showing. If for some random reason you didn't want the map to show, you can just drop it over there and press update after you've disabled it, and the map now for all listings will be gone. So we don't want to do that, so we're going to put that back. Update. So that is how you can add features to a category and also adjust a bit of the layout for the elements that are shown per listing. There is another area we might want to take a quick look at, and that's also under the listings, and it's under features. Now there are little icons here for all sorts of features. We saw the credit card one. It's quite easy to add new features. So if you found that you needed a particular feature and it wasn't available here, you can easily create one, and you just head to this Font Awesome website, which is actually, it explains here, and it will give you the code, so you can easily add one of them, and then you can associate it with a category, and then your listings, you can enable those features that may or may not be available for each category, and you work through it like that. So there's quite a bit of work in this setup to get it looking really good, but all the tools are there to make it happen. So another element you might want to add to your directory is a new page. So if you want to add a new page, just head to Pages and then Add New. And we're going to just do a quick About page, and we're going to just chuck some text in here. This is about Auburn Village. It's a thriving little part of Melbourne, and we're building this free directory for Auburn Village. So we're just going to hit Publish on that. And if we go back to our home page, we can see the only thing we've got up here at the moment is Add Listing. So let's get that onto the menu. And to do that, we just cruise down here to Appearance, go to Menus, and now we can see the About is here. So we're just going to add that to the menu. So once we've added our About page over here, we just want to display location. We'll hit the Home page menu, press Save, and we'll do an update. And there's our About, and actually by hitting the enable it over here, we've also added the blog and the contact page. So we don't want the blog page on here, so we're going to remove that. Hit Save Menu, Update. There we have it. Okay, so we're just going to finish off this About page. So we've got the menu working as we saw, and now if we go and actually take a look at it, and the other thing we can see over here, it's talking about we should add some widgets. So why don't we go down here to Appearance and go to Widgets, and what we might do is select say ListingPro Recent Listing Widget, for example, and we're going to put it into the sidebar, and we're going to restrict it to 3 listings. Hit Save. If we go back over here and refresh, yeah, then we've got some listings down the side here. So the 3 most recent listings we've got there, and that's looking much better. Now the other thing I want to take a look at is we didn't have images here on our locations. So I've added the New York one in, but I just wanted to show you how you can do that. So if you go to listings and we go to locations, we can select, say, Georgia, and if you got the URL, you can chuck it in there, or I'm going to put in an image for Georgia. Now I've just been on Unsplash and got some images here, so I'm just going to update Georgia. We'll also update New York. Oops, New York's already done. Chicago, we'll add Chicago. That is Chicago. And California, let's chuck in a nice beach shot for California. Now if we go back over here and refresh, we've got some really cool images here now, so that's looking really nice. Okay, so next on the list is just to take a bit of a look at one of our listings. So if we just go in here to, say, let's look for Tinto, and the search picks up Tinto, the restaurant, straight away, and we can see that here. What we could have also done is could have just, say, put in Hawthorne and found out what listings we've got in Hawthorne, and you can see that we've got a bakery and Tinto. So let's have a look at Tinto. We can see here also we've got the tagline. Let's go to Tinto. And so we've got a bit of a description here now for this listing. Also updated the times, so when it's open, and once this is published, anyone can make a review of the restaurant. And if this listing was claimed, and you can see that it's not claimed here because it's got claimed now, if the restaurant owner claims this, the full listing will be managed by the owner, and any reviews that go through, they can be moderated as well. And as before, you can see the listing features are also showing here. So this just gives you an idea of what a listing looks like when it's complete. Got the URL, phone number, and the address. So this one's looking pretty good. One of the other areas that we didn't look at, we might just come back to, is the payment setup. So if we go on to payment, we can see a number of categories down here. So for the listings directories I've done in the past, really just used PayPal and Stripe. So if you have a PayPal account set up, you can request the information, the API and the API signature to get set up here. That's pretty straightforward. It doesn't take very long. And also with Stripe, Stripe's pretty easy as well. You can just put in your secret key. This is the default dummy data from ListingPro. So that's the payment setup. We're not going to go into that one in too much detail. But one other area I just wanted to cover off, because there's not a lot of documentation on it, is listing IDs. And what I mean by that is, if we go to pages and we go to edit with Elementor, the home page, if we scroll down here, we've got some of the stuff we've updated, but we might want to change this exclusive listings and make it featured listings. So to do that, we might go over here and we'll do listings, listing post by ID. So you can see here a number of listings have appeared. We can change the way these appear. So now we've got them in the grid view, and it seems to have picked up the most recent listings. So you might want to change that. And if you look into here, it's telling you, it's giving you nothing, in fact. So what we want to do is pick our own listings to appear in here. And the way we do that is via the listing ID. So I'm just going to do an update on that, and then head back to the dashboard. And if we go to listings, now there's not a lot of documentation on this, but it's a bit of a trick. So maybe we want to add Tinto to show. If you right click on edit and you say open in a new link, when this opens up, you can see up here in the URL we've got 1018. So you just take a note of that. And if we go back over to here, pages, edit with Elementor, go down here and we click here, and I add in 1018. There's our Tinto restaurant listing. And if you want to add other ones in, I'll just take a guess here and put 1017 and just see what comes up. The Tower Hotel. So this is how you can choose which listings appear in exclusive listings, or any of the widgets that look for an ID or a listing ID. So it's just handy to know. So I think that sort of wraps up the tutorial around ListingPro. I hope you've enjoyed it and got something out of it. If there is anything I've missed or you need a bit of guidance with, feel free to chuck a comment in. If you like the video, be great if you subscribed, and we're going to have some more videos coming out soon. So until next time, catch you later.